enterprise promotion through SHG federations by looking at some of the big scale enterprises promoted by SHG federations and what has worked for them. The session will also deliberate on issues of funding and sustainability of the SHG federations encouraged businesses are facing as well as their solutions. I warmly welcome the moderator for the session, Dr. Madhu Sharan, President Hand in Hand India, to take her place on this stage. Thank you. I would now like to invite on stage our distinguished panelists for the session. Usha Rani, Lead Institution Building and Capacity Building, Social Inclusion, Social Development and Human Resources, DNRLM, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. Kalpana Pant, Executive Director, Chaitanya. Ratnesh Jha, Executive Director, UN Global Compact Network. And Madhu Krishna, Deputy Director, Gender Equality, Bills and Melinda Gates Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us in the panel discussion. I now hand over to Dr. Madhu Sharan to take this session forward. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to this post-lunch session on the role of SHG federations in promoting scaled-up, higher-value enterprises for the rural poor. Always a challenge to have a post-lunch session, and let's hope we can make it engaging and interesting. Just to set the context, organizations that are working for livelihoods promotion in India at the moment more or less follow the NRLM model, whether they are NGOs or multilaterals or private organizations supported by CSR. The model more or less is the same. So you mobilize women into groups, you give them a lot of training, capacity building in multitude aspects of financial management, SHG management. The key is, of course, to support them in livelihoods federations, livelihood promotion activities. But then you also work, the model is one of federating them into village level organizations, cluster level organizations. And of course, we have a lot of examples depending upon the states, the level of maturity of the federations. You have various types of livelihood activities promoted by the federations, some doing exceptionally well, high value, high returns, great collective bargaining power of these SHG federation leaders, high value chain, big sizes of bank loans, great marketing linkages. But then you also have federations that really struggle to attain self-sufficiency in continuing with the livelihoods activities that they started with. And here also there are a lot of challenges. Challenges pertaining to lack of technical skills, challenges pertaining to lack of competing in the market space, challenges of having lack of professional staff, so on and so forth, bank loans, bank linkages, linkages with other private and public players. So you have as many success stories of federations doing exceptionally well in promoting higher value livelihoods. You have just as many or more examples of livelihoods activities of federations which somehow struggle to maintain their pace, forget about scaling up or attain sustainability. So in this session, we will be discussing some of them. But before I start, I would just like to say that Hand in Hand, the NGO that I work for, we of course also work in this livelihood space, work in the federation space, and we have faced a lot of challenges as much as we have seen successes. We deal at the moment with 30 lakh women mobilized into 3 lakh SHGs, having created about 5.2 5 million jobs among the rural poor. In terms of federations, we have about 1,285 federations comprising 13,000 SHGs, 2 lakh women. But when it comes to having scaled up livelihoods, we are also, despite all the inputs that we give, which I think I will talk subsequently, we also have been able to promote just about 17 such large scale livelihoods. And when I say large scale, I mean where the turnover, annual turnover is about 10 lakhs per year, obviously. So, and then, but you can imagine the, the proportion, 1,300 federations and only about 16 or 17 scaled up livelihoods with a turnover of 10 lakhs per year. So then where are we struggling? And you obviously cannot blame these feisty dynamic women who are all so inspired to make a success of their livelihoods. You cannot blame the promoter organization, because all of us are so committed to see the change and help them in every way. So of course there are some things that we need to set right, and I hope in this panel discussion we discuss and we throw open some of these issues. Really my privilege to have this accomplished panel. And I have Usha Rani, who is a lead at the NRLM, and she has a lot of experience in policy advocacy, in institution building, network linkages with development issues, particularly with the SHG movement that she has been associated with for the longest time, at CARE, at SERP. So welcome, Usha. I have with me Kalpana Pant, who I think everybody knows as a very, very dedicated executive director of Chaitanya. Chaitanya, all of us know, has done amazing work at the grassroots in supporting women's livelihoods through strong federations. I have Ratnesh Jha with me, who has worked at every possible level, national, state, district, having worked with the government and public sector, private organization, lend support to Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Rural Development, MSME, Niti Aayog, SIDBI, UNDP. So Ratnesh comes with a lot of experience in strategic planning, implementing, evaluating programs. We look forward to hearing from you. And finally, we have Madhu Krishna, who is the gender expert. Currently, she is working at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, responsible for advancing the foundation's work in promoting gender equality, in arriving at technical solutions, communication, strategic partnerships. So welcome all of you, and thank you so much, dear participants, and let's hope and let's start this session. So Usha, starting with you. NRLM, of course, we know is the king of livelihoods, in the space, and all of us as implementers have learnt a lot. Could you just speak a little bit about the livelihoods process planning that happens at NRLM and the other technical support that NRLM plans to support livelihoods, particularly for sustainability of livelihoods? Including in helping federations upscale their livelihoods.
Thank you very much, Madhu, and I thank Access for inviting me for this panel. Before actually going to the livelihood planning process, I want to highlight on what is the role of the SHG federations also in the overall livelihood, because planning is one of the role of the federations in that. The first and foremost thing the SHG federations play is the promotion of the producer groups, and the second part is actually like they are doing the livelihood planning process. So, and the third one is actually like building the capacities of the SHG members, and then that also through the various community cadres, we call it as paraprofessionals, maybe Krishi Saki, Pashi Saki, or different kinds of Sakis we are having, and also like providing the credit. Especially when it comes to the credit, there is a different funds given to the community institutions, the community investment fund and also community enterprise fund and also infrastructure fund that is available. In addition to that, recently we have started actually the federations are playing a critical role in providing the mudra loans also. That is another role they are playing. And one more important, two more important roles the federations are playing is on the marketing and the value addition related aspects. And the last and very important role is the convergence. So these are the some of the roles they are playing. And also, if you see the federations currently, we have more than 33,000 SHG cluster level federations that are there, and we have more than 4 lakh village level organizations. So both village level organizations and cluster level federations are actually trying to create demonstration sites, and in many places they are taking up the collective marketing both for inputs and also for various commodities they are doing. So these are the various kinds of roles the SHG federations are playing. And when it comes to the livelihood planning process, if I reflect back my old days in SERP and currently, like we started the whole livelihood process with a leap. But later on, we tried different kinds of models. And currently in NRLM, what we are doing is we are following two different approaches. The first and foremost approach is the top down approach, where what we are doing is we are developing the district livelihood potential mapping we are doing. So there is already, like, we are using the secondary data that is published by NABARD and also the TIS. So after doing the analysis, we are trying to identify what kind of which livelihoods are having lot of potentials in that, and then based on that our SRLMs are preparing the block level livelihood planning process. So this is the top down kind of a thing. From block it is going to the cluster level. But a very important one what we have recently initiated 2 years back is the bottom up approach. In the bottom up approach, here we are following two different kinds of approaches. In fact, we are utilizing the opportunity that was given by Government of India, that is Gram Panchayat development planning process, where Government of India identified, given a very clear cut role for the SHGs to prepare and participate in the planning process. So that is called as a village poverty reduction planning process. As part of the village poverty reduction planning process, we have included comprehensive village livelihood planning process here. So in this village CVLP, we call it as, in this CVLP, what happens is at individual level and household level, we do a very detailed planning process where we try to understand what is the access to the information, access to the knowledge, access to the market, and also what kind of assets we are trying to develop at the community level and also household level, what are the infrastructure related facilities, what is the finance that is required, and what kind of skills that are required. All these kind of planning is coming, and it is actually inputted into the VPRP, and it will be, this planning process happens first at the SHG level, then it will be aggregated at the VO level and the GP level, and it will be included into the GPDP process. And for this, we have developed a mobile application. In fact, in the morning session, the additional secretary was also talking about this particular thing. In fact, with this application, what happens is a very comprehensive data about the each and every household it will come, and we can easily feed into the to the line ministries and the departments also. This is one process. And as part of the institutional building process, we have initiated the vision building process in all the CLFs. In the vision building process, that starts from the SHG member household level, and as an institution at the SHG VU and the CLF also, they actually develop, they understand the aspirations of the community members and they develop plans. So that is where the business development plans they are coming up. So the top down approach up to the BLP, whatever is coming, that will be feed into the vision building and BDP of the CLFs. And similarly, from the VPRP, whatever the planning process is coming, that will be inputted into the vision building process. So at the CLF level, very clear-cut business development plan will come, where actually the institution, the CLF, will understand what is the requirement of the, how many people are asking for what kind of livelihoods, what kind of knowledge requirements are there, what kind of credit requirements are there, what kind of information is required, skill, everything they will come to understand. After that, there is a process called credit planning process. At the SHG and VO level, we have this microcredit planning process where we actually plan what is the fund available and how much they can get it from outside. At the CLF level, we are actually preparing the cash flows, complete business plan. Just like a bank, they are also preparing and they are doing the planning process. So it is a very, very comprehensive planning process that is happening at the CLF level, and they are able to actually provide the services. Currently, if we see the CVLP process, this is being actually taken up in all the 6,700 blocks. So currently we are having 87,000, 87 lakh SHGs we are having, and more than 4 lakh SHGs and 33,000 CLFs. In all these places it is happening. And if you see this year we have introduced the mobile app, already more than the 7 lakh SHGs, 7% of the whole universe already developed the CVLPs. So this is the kind of the planning process that is happening at the NRLM level. I think NRLM is a learning organization. Always we are changing. If something is not working today, I may say that CVLP. Tomorrow, if it is not working, we may change. So with that note, I would like to hand over the session.
Thank you, Usha. Very interesting, this whole process. Little bit, I think, in the second round, the livelihoods, the larger scaled up livelihoods with a high turnover, how I understand the vision building and the technical needs that you provide, but just what is the support that you do to take them from one level to the other, if you could throw light in the second round. Coming to Kalpana, like I said, Chaitanya is well known for the work that they do at the grassroots. I think you are working with 42 large federations called Sathi Mahasanghs, confederations. And also very interesting that I found that you are running a e-learning course, conducting an e-learning course on SHG Federations management with certified by TIS and WISE. So I think really great work. So if you could just take us through the entire livelihood models that you have developed at Chaitanya, and also the process map, the road map that you envisage for livelihoods promotion.
Can I use the
Yeah, please.
presentation, please? Very many thanks to Access. I have been coming here basically to talk about sustainability of SHG federations and the different models, and this is the first time I'm going to be speaking about the enterprise models here as well. And this is something that we have been working on since the last 5 years. And so therefore, this opportunity also comes at the right moment to share our learnings and some of the understanding that we have. Yeah, this is Chaitanya is the promoting institution. WISE is a resource organization which has certification from TISS. Sarthi, all the 42 federations confederated into. So now Chaitanya has moved out of the microfinance space completely. That is taken care of by Sarthi. It has partnership with banks and it has its own fund. Almost 60% of the loans given by different federations are from their own savings. That's the kind of fund that the federations have generated. That's the the awards that we have got from CSR, from here, this platform, and from NABARD as well. Now to talk, we have been hearing about these challenges, but I would just like to kind of summarize, not taking much time. Most of us are talking about micro enterprises, but they are in the nano category. And when we talk about women, led enterprises, they are individual women who are running these enterprises. There aren't even many employed in these. And there is limited graduation from these family-owned enterprises, and India ranks very, very poorly, 57 out of 65 countries. And so when we are looking at the gender bias here is also very visible, because as compared to only 4% men, which are single employed enterprises, there are almost 65% of the enterprises where women or are individually controlling the enterprises. So when we look at, since yesterday, I think everybody's been talking about enterprise and they've been sharing their models. Primarily, my understanding is there are two models. One is where the organizations are providing an ecosystem, be it access to credit, be it some kind of digital support, training. A lot of work is going on in skilling and digital financial literacy. So all this ecosystem is part of the support that is being provided. And the second subset of that, which government is doing a lot in a big way, is basically giving orders, providing market. Now, the limitation here on both sides is that women are not ready to take the risks because they need a steady source of income. And while different organizations may have started out with completely community-driven, community-controlled, they realize that women are happy to do piece rate kind of work. Give me something end of the day, and then you take care of the market. That's the kind of model that I have seen in a number of organizations that started with community-driven enterprises, but ended up taking care of the market, and then stock and other issues also started coming in. With the government, it's a lot more better because government can give the orders. The challenge is that when the government is giving order, it's not able to sustain this. So one order, bada order aa gaya sarkar ka, so everybody is very happy, get some income, but because they are not linked to the market, it's not sustained. And government also has a lot of people to cater to. They cannot be focusing on one SHG or two SHGs and so on. So how we graduate from this model is something that we have been exploring, working on, experimenting, and a lot of challenges, which we realize that women are facing. I think since yesterday we've been talking, just want to put it into 4 categories. Individual and social challenges, a lot of it related to gender barriers. We've been talking a lot about gender issues. Market, basically understanding of market segmentation itself, that there are different requirements, and you make one product, ek sabun ban gaya ya ek item ban gaya, and you are able to cater to the needs is not the right approach. The most important management part is the economies of scale, and this is where all of us, whenever I go to NRLM meetings also, Didi, kaise bechenge? Because the other women are also very keen to buy, but they're like, bahut mehenga hai. So that's the challenge, because the economies of scale are not working. And then when scale happens, then quality is an issue. I'm sure NRLM also must have faced that. You give a big order and then quality comes down. And of course, the ecosystem. So how the demand and the supply are to be matched, that's the big role that we are looking at. So what is it? I think Usha Rani already talked about it. The first, in terms of what SHG federations have been very successfully able to do, is building women's confidence and capabilities. In the morning, Girija was also talking about very poor people. You cannot expect to graduate to the level of MNCs and start competing with them. So the building of confidence and capabilities, addressing gender barriers, and how women get support for household care. And because if you ask me what is stopping women from scaling up, it is the household care responsibilities and the gender barriers. I think we have already covered a lot of this. Credit access, even low-cost credit, has been digital trainings, skill trainings, access to markets. NRLM has facilitated that in a big way. And corporates also. I think there are a lot of CSRs which are opening doors for women entrepreneurs, but it's still very, very small. For us to start making a difference, we have to start gender trainings for the corporates in terms of the procurement cycle will not be the same. The procurement policies need to change if you're looking at women driven household level enterprises and risk funds. So, corporates like Capri Global have been providing some money so that we can cushion the risks, which here the government has been able to do. How to retain the market? Only when we start looking at producer women federation members as both the producers as well as the consumers. Push for demand and supply, and how women are able to interact with different players. So it's right from procurement to the market. Women have to be able to interact at these different levels. And as I think before this somebody was saying, it has to be different sections of women. Just as we are talking about different partners playing different roles, it's different groups of women playing these different roles. One possibly taking care of market, one taking care of procurement, one taking care of quality. So that's the understanding. Just quickly to talk about our initiative. It's not the skill or lack of capital that's inhibiting scaling up. What is inhibiting scaling up is the push that needs to be given, where, as we were talking, Ratnesh, we have to understand that the process will be slow. It will not be fast, because even today when we get bigger orders, women are like, ghar ka kaam hai, there are so many other things to do, I can only give these many hours. So understanding and involving women in the entire chain from procurement to production, and involving the women in the market. These are some of the products that we are making. And the flow starts with the Maitri, and the understanding is that there are women who are the producers, women who are the consumers, and women who are also in the sales. So we call them Maitris. So Maitri could be any one of the women here, because some of the products that we are making are in Maheshwar, Ujjain, Indore, Pune. And you could take a photograph of the products. We have a WhatsApp, and you could share it in your group. And there are 3 different models. I will not talk about the 3 different models of what role each of you can play. So it's connecting the middle class, the upper middle class, and the women who are the producers together in this Maitri model, with different kinds of commission structures that we have come up with. We do the B2B, yes. We focus on both the B2B and the B2C. Again, the supply side part, I will talk about in detail what kind of trainings we've been doing. And the demand side, in terms of using all forms of channels, it could be digital, it is personalized marketing, and uniting women across different classes through Kala Maitri, and use of WhatsApp have been the demand side part. So these are, to close, I just want to come up with and share these 4 models that we've been talking of. 1 or 2 enterprises that we can take up end to end, like district level, each district, one product, like that, one area, one product, where we can focus more intensively. That's one kind of model, because there you look at the entire supply chain. The second model, where collectives are playing a role for individual enterprises, the role of women empowerment hubs, where you have a place where women who are making their products can come for packaging, labeling, and then kind of trainings on marketing. So what the collectives can play an important role is providing them that space where they can experiment, try out, do the branding. The third is setting up women as women entrepreneurial networks. That's the model that we have. where women SHGs who are doing similar kind of enterprise come together. When they are together, they take part. They can participate in training programs. They can understand where to get the raw material from. They can understand also how to access markets. So different training programs are happening, and then they go back to their individual places, access their own networks, and if there are bigger orders, they again come together and fulfill those orders. So it's like you aggregate and then you disaggregate again for your individual productions. So that's the kind of Venn model that we have come up with, because in SHG federations, we cannot just focus on one or two or 17 enterprises. We have to look at a large number of women, and there are some women who do not have the necessary skills or the risk taking capabilities who would want a piece rate kind of a job. And for this, we look at different partnerships, especially colleges. Universities play a very important role in providing support for women enterprises. I will close at this. Maybe I will talk about the sustainability part later, how we sustain the entire thing, because that's the focus. We can keep talking about different ideas, but will it be sustainable is something I will talk later, because I've. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalpana. Really useful, the four models. And as you rightly said, it has to suit the interest and the skills and the abilities of women. So some individual, some medium, some activity based. So thank you so much for that presentation. Moving on, Ratnesh, as we said earlier, you have been at the policy level, you have been at the implementing and evaluating level. So I know particularly from your work with the UNDP, supporting a lot of NGOs and private players. So what we would like to hear from you is the challenges that you saw that implementing organization, promoter organization faced at the grassroots, and how it was addressed by your collective forum of the government, UNDP, and the partnering organizations.
Thank you, Madhuji. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be among the family of SHG Livelihoods Summit. For so long, Vipin has been hosting this organization. It has become a movement. I think you've written it also, I think, the tagline. So it's a momentum that we have to carry forward, and the challenges which I will share shortly. But before the challenge, I would like to celebrate the success that despite all the challenges, I mean, I have been so fortunate. I mean, Vijay Kumar, Thellam Vijay Kumar, I was in UNDP when he was at the helm of NRLM, and we were discussing so long discussions about how to anticipate those challenges and how to create the support mechanism, interest subvention, and all those came out of it. And then the journey in Rajasthan and Jharkhand, which I was personally leading from Delhi office. So it's really you have to salute the spirit, and I think Kalpana also mentioned somewhere. It's not because of the lack of ideas. It's not because of the lack of skill, and funds are also manageable. But it's just that the sustained challenge to maintain quality, quantity, look ahead, prepare the vision, everything, and also be rooted in your family and in your ultimately community obligations. So all these things create a heady portion through which we have to navigate and negotiate. And the experience and the expertise in the room, I mean, I don't think I have anything additional to put, but yet I have been asked, so I will definitely make some points. But those are all my very, very subjective and personally felt opinion, and solutions may have been found to it. So I recall my first, in the early 90s, I was posted in Himachal Pradesh, and the Kulu weavers, shawl weavers, so there were ladies where the first and foremost, and I think it still continues, maybe the accounting part of it, the whole bookkeeping part of it, so the trust, the social capital is so high that whatever you are doing is fine, brother or sister. That kind of a स्नेह जिसको कहते हैं ना, बात है ठीक है, you do that, we'll do the production and you take care of everything else. And that is where the whole, when it transforms into federation level, and when we are talking about big livelihoods, and then when the women who, for whom the whole thing is there, I mean, on whom behalf we are all sitting and discussing, if they start taking a step back, that no, it's that federation will decide. After all, it is your federation. It's not that Access or SCL Foundation or Chaitanya. No, it's the women of that Bageshwar or whatever the name. So it's there. So that ownership should be maintained in the hearts and minds of everyone. The roles may change, the president, secretary, treasurer may rotate, but the collective ownership of that SHG and that VO and that federation, that should always remain. So that is where I have found, and again I'm subject to correction, and India is such a huge, diverse continental proportion. So there are SERP model, Kudumshri model, everywhere innovations are the name of the game. But this, I found that underlying thing, that the moment you start aggregating, the average participation of the women, although in terms of wage and trainings, quality remains. But then planning, vision building, all those things somehow is outsourced at some higher level. So SHG, VO will do it. VO, Federation will do it. Federation, the state, whatever program lead will do it. That I think needs to be, and ma'am, you mentioned, I mean, so the awareness is there, that bottoms up planning. So that strengthening, I think somewhere, it's not intentional, but somehow it happens. The second major challenge which I found in Rajasthan and Odisha, I think, I was evaluating livelihood projects supported by IFAD, and the IFAD model is that government takes the ownership. And again, it was as you rightly mentioned, NRLM is the king. So the model was NRLM, but it was being implemented by various agencies at the ground. And ultimately, in that, again, somehow the program design, which again was done in a consultative basis, but somehow in the 10 years that the program rose, the changing realities were not, I mean, they were not being fed. So it was something that was happening. Market was something that was happening parallelly. So that constant dialogue, and in large program, in large organizations, these are bound to be created. So when we advocate the federation level thing, we also should have, and the each learning module that you are, so that I think will address it, because the module also will be updated, and the refresher courses to the people who are actually participating will have to be delivered in their own language, and they should be able to participate in it and inform the changes in it, because the reality that they are seeing around them, they are the best judge. But we as providers, or we as support mechanism, we should hear those voices from the ground, and we should incorporate them, uh, deliver it in a manner which is accessible to them, and they can make use of it. So a livelihood planning at any level should be informed by these changes in the market. That I found is a lag. So, and that has some serious consequences, because the Pashu Sakhi, the Mitra, everyone, the training modules were designed some time back. But the market, which, and again, that also brings us to the question of कि आपका सामान अच्छा तो है but महंगा बहुत है. But why? If the market can produce it cheaper, then why can't we also learn what is going on? And if we have something exclusive, I mean, one argument I used to hear in the early 2000s that China se bahut ye maal aa raha hai, etc., etc. So some answer must have been sound. So similarly, why can't we constantly have market intelligence built into our products, so that even I would like to confess that when I joined this position, I had a immediate requirement of bags, and my first port of call was NRLM. कि भाई मैं, and it was 1400, whereas 158. I mean, it cannot sustain. I mean, and as you rightly pointed out, the government can give one bulk order to one federation, but it cannot keep supporting it, and that support is not sought also. It should be used to as a support mechanism to buttress and look for more innovative, more competitive, and what the market is doing, that must constantly inform. Last and a very delicate thing is, again, I'm putting my neck out. Somehow, if there are 15 to 20 women in an SHG, there is this haloed position of president, treasurer, and I mean, this something we have to. I mean, we have to support to happen, that every woman has becomes at least once in that rotation, though it is written in the constitution, but that I think वो पंचशील में है, but practice में it doesn't happen, and it is always identified as Kalpana's SHG, Ratnesh's SHG, Madhu's SHG. This needs to change. I think I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ratnesh. And you have spoken behind closed doors, so I am sure everything is going to be, but for very valuable inputs. And now we have the last speaker, last but not the least, Madhu Krishna, who is a gender specialist. And SSG is all about women. So just we have talked about the models, we have talked about the process, the challenges. Now, going forward, Madhu, how do you see the role of federation in providing technical support? I mean, building financial capabilities, market linkages with the other private CSR government players to just strengthen them to upscale and sustain the federations. So your experience on that, Madhu.
Thank you. And again, very big thank you to Access and all the organizers for inviting us to this really important topic. And so much rich discussion has already happened. And I'm also very pleased to be with the family of panelists who we work together quite closely. I think for us as a Gates Foundation and for our economic power strategy in India, NRLM for us is really a core partner. And I think we work across multiple things. But I don't think there is any other program there. So I want to take on the celebratory note, Ratnesh, that you started, because I'm so proud to be part of this ecosystem of NRLM. I don't think there is any country in the world ever in history to have invested so much in women. So while the international rankings will show us very low on gender or on many issues, I am super proud and really proudly hold up that we are the one country that invests billions of dollars consistently in setting up this platform of 84 million women. We have a big ambition to cover the entire country with 100 million, 150 million women organized. So it's really a very powerful platform. So I just want to say that as we enter this year of celebration of G20 and presidency, we can actually take real pride in what this country has created. And so many partners have supported. And therefore, for us, when we look around, we say, okay, there is no substitute for this platform. So why do we spend 90% of our budget on women's economic power strategy, really working with NRLM? Because where else will we get a platform like this? And it's not only a program for livelihoods, but it's a credit plus, and so many other benefits that come. Yesterday we heard a lot about the challenges about social norms. Where else can you shift social norms? But with federations which have 5,000 women. And we all know that social norms shift when the bulk of women and the bulk of the community starts moving to a new way of operating. And we already see that. Women who enter NRLM come in very timidly, come into the SHGs, have never been out of their houses. And within a couple of years, they're out mobilizing people, speaking at public speeches, going to government officials. So that cannot be underestimated. But when we come to federations, that just the power of that collective is so powerful. But I do think that looking at understanding where we are today, I think we have to look for a new pathway, which is where now that we are so solidly focused and the social mobilization has happened and people know what that playbook is, how do we make these federations really the strong business units and really get away from the dependency that each woman feels that I have a strong business unit I have a captive market both within the membership and my ecosystem, and we can play in the bigger markets, right? Create value chains starting from sourcing the agriculture products, having a warehousing service of our own, a production, a packaging unit. So build a whole value chain around these federations, which I think is something we struggle with. And even if you are an individual entrepreneur, how can you come together and create that strong value chain? So you may still be an individual enterprise, like Kalpana said, aggregate and disaggregate as needed according to your local market. So that's what I think is very important. The second piece, I think, is really about the professionalization. So do we have a professional cadre that either at a district level can support multiple CLFs with the kind of bookkeeping, marketing, financial, packaging skills that are required? Because I think we do need that cadre. Right now, it is all dependent on development partners or government skilling programs, but within themselves, we need to have not just a one-time mentorship, we talked about that yesterday, but really a cadre of people who are really trained, exactly like you have in a business enterprise. You have marketing professionals, you have finance professionals, you have people who understand packaging and promotion. So we need to build that cadre across the NRLM ecosystem that can support it. And we have some of that data as well from some of these experiments we've done with other NGOs. For instance, SEVA is looking at a support system for women's economic enterprises. Is that something that we can build into the NRLM system? But of course, at a high level, federations do drive economies of scale, and we know that. So we did an evaluation through 3IE in 2020, and so the average loan amounts without federation always were only about 3,000 or 2,000 rupees. And the minute you go to CLFs, they rise to 7,500, because already you see some sort of transition from small thinking to larger business thinking. We also saw that in the convergence, which is very important, because so many of our members of the SHG still do not have access to all the schemes that they need to have. So we saw that 31%, if they were still individual SHGs, but the minute they go to federations and become federated, that number of schemes and the number of members who go up to 10% more, 41 to 50%, right? So really also have side effects on human lives. Apart from the business enterprises, the federation itself has a huge role to play in bringing these women further up the value chain. And then if you look at the non-federated SHGs, 13% of the loans are self-reported, are to be used for productive purposes. But when you go into federated SHGs, that number again goes up to 24. And these are 2020 figures, so hopefully the position is changing even further. So we also have these corroborated by our work with partners like Prabdhan and others who work on the model CLF. So you also talked about strengthening the CLFs. And, Usha talked about the visioning exercise. You talked about not having a crutch. And I think that visioning exercise is not just words, it's really having that ownership that I am running a business enterprise. I am on the board of this company. How do I take it from a 5 crore turnover to a 50 to a 100 crore turnover? And I think that is really important, and that is work that we are also supporting with NRLM. So we want to create at least 10,000 model CLFs so that you have a whole template. I think the struggle is the definition of what is a model CLF is something we all need to work together and say these are the key parts of what will be a model CLF, and really anchor it more squarely on livelihoods and on business enterprises independent of all of the other social aspects, because sometimes those get very convoluted with when you're trying to hit core business goals. So we have to really define what is a model CLF, what are the core social goals they have to have, and then what are really the focus on livelihoods. And can there be different parts of the CLF that are looking at this? Because otherwise you lose focus when you're trying to be a business enterprise. So the big picture thinking, the kind of numbers, I think that has to be part of our new phase, and also a lot more on access to capital. I know that many people say that federations have access to capital, but when you want to grow your enterprise, how do you get it? And I do see at a micro level that even commercial banks are feeling more comfortable because the ease of doing that business, all of the banking suckies, all of the other initiatives that NRLM is doing. But we have to think about enterprise finance when we're thinking about scaling that business. So I'll stop there. There's a lot of potential. I think we all have to anchor around it, and the next 5 years will show a new path forward for all of us.
Thank you so much. I think we are quite on time. Just to share a little bit also what we have been talking and hearing. And so just a few things, for me, one thing that has worked, what I think all of you have spoken, from Usha to Kalpana, Ratnesh, and you, Madhu, uh, customization of the livelihoods model of federations, whatever works for whoever. And as Kalpana has detailed, actually, so hand in hand, of course, we work in 19 states. One thing I just want to share very quickly, so we work in Bihar, Jharkhand, MP, but we also work in Tamil Nadu. And where Tamil Nadu, we did so there the literacy levels are higher, women's entrepreneurial risk-taking abilities are higher. So there we ran this 1-year program with IIT Madras for SHG Federation livelihood support. It worked wonders. 1-year program, 6 months of classes of first enterprise motivation, why you should be an entrepreneur, entrepreneurial skills, and 6 months of mentoring. So then you have women who started activity-based groups. So organic rice cultivation, apparel, garment. But then you have women in Bihar, Jharkhand, MP. They are not interested. They are all part of federations. They will only do family-based enterprises. Very, very gradually, they will graduate to maybe a higher level. The advantage that we have, of course, is that we have our own microfinance organization. So credit is a very big help. So when you don't have to go to banks or there, that is a plus. So various models. And then now just last bit, I know we have a lot of questions and great insights. Very quickly, 2 minutes each, starting from Madhu. 3 policy changes that you would like to see from the government that would aid this role of federations in becoming more sustainable. I'm not saying specifically for livelihoods, but just more sustainable. So very quickly, 2 minutes each, and then we will have open discussion.
So I have mostly around the business piece. So I think we need to have access to larger enterprise finance. And believe it or not, everyone's not in it to do good, right? Private sector believes in profits and incentives. And I think if we can have some tax incentives, if all your shareholders are from SHG target groups or women, then can you get them access to larger enterprise, right? So that's one. I think incentives also to private sector partnerships, enterprises, if they source and procure from women entrepreneurs. So that means largely from women-led enterprises. If you source, if your value chains are sourced from them, then you get a certain amount of tax incentive. Because I think we really feel like everyone should do good and support. That's the development sector thinking, right? But if you really want private sector, you have to give them some incentives. Just like we do for, underdeveloped areas, geographic areas, this is a set of population that needs support. Provide them the tax incentives, they'll start procuring from those women enterprises, right? And I think also just even government programs, we've seen such a lot of success. It's a graduation kind of strategy. If I can get assured market through public procurement, for instance, take-home rations, running of waste plants, etc., you can then graduate your women to have better commercial enterprises as well. So they learn along the way, the government can support them. So I say increase the percentage of procurement from women enterprises, especially those that come from SHG. So those are my 3 big.
Thank you
big
so much.
policy
No, very well said and very well put. Ratnesh?
Yeah. So I think when we talk of all the challenges, there are policy solutions which have already been provided at various intervals. What is the missing link is the actually taking it to ground. And I'll take it from the last session in this room only, which was happening when I arrived. And the person in the district, how does all the discussion and all the policy changes, how does he get access to it? So awareness, willingness of some of us to stick our neck out and help them cross the Rubicon, That I think is there because solutions are here. I mean, Chaitanya itself has done so many things, but I was not aware before I met her just now. So things keep moving. It's not a stationary ship that we are. So things are moving. People are finding solutions, and I like the way you expressed it. That in IIT Chennai it worked, but in Bihar and UP it's not working. So let's not have the pretension that NRLM dictates that everywhere this is the policy. You have to fly to the nearest IIT and get the solution. No. Whatever स्वयंभू जो वहाँ से whatever is emerging, what are the voices that are emerging, and in the policy space we have enough leeway. How can we leverage it to serve this particular issue? I think that humility and that dedication is required. I think India has already done the celebrity note. We had already done a lot of wonder. I mean, hand in hand, Chaitanya, so many other examples come to mind. But the point is, we have to keep doing and keep doing more. And for that, we need people in this room to expand and broadcast the message that we have to do more. Policies are there. I think we can live with a lot of policy innovations. I have seen in my own
Yes.
3 decades. Yeah.
I'm sure you were involved in so many of the policies, but Kalpana, your three.
Corporate policies, because when we give them orders, they are like, you have to give, there are at least 15 to 20 indicators that the place should be like this. I'm like, these are women who can't possibly comply with these things. So yes, procurement policies, and the procurement team has to know, give them a chance at least 3 times. I mean, if they give a sample and you give some suggestions, they will work on it, but at least don't reject it outright. So that kind of, so it happened with us with one big company, some bag order. And so based on that experience, I'm telling you. The second is risk fund. Everybody's been talking about risk fund, but the cost of production is much higher when the scale is low. So they are not able to compete in the market. So if we could bridge that difference, at least in the first 2 years of the of the enterprise, so 5 rupees ka difference ya 10 rupees ka difference per piece, if that could be kind of taken care of, depending on the item, 5 to 10%. So that would really be helpful. So basically to compete in the market, because you can't expect women to compete. So that's the second part. Permissions to set up, we have started with canopy selling, and we need permissions. Some people, officers, are very lenient and they're like, haan laga dijiye, and then suddenly they're like, what have you done? You cannot, because there are 10 other people who come. And so some specific place for women to be, I think NRLM already has access to that because they are with the government, but for larger women to be able to reach out. And the last is students, IIT, IIM, all management students, if they could give 2 to 3 months, they have this program in which 6 months, I think they have. So if they could devote more time, I think that would help women gain, because expecting professionals to come, it's pretty expensive, and those kinds of funds are not coming in. So
Thank you so much. Truly grassroots and really coming from the implementation. Thank you so much, Kalpana. Usha?
Yeah. So, as we are talking about the SHG federations, I would like to actually focus on some of the policy level issues. For the past almost like 20-25 years, we have been struggling. One is the appropriate legal form is very, very important. In all the forums, we have been raising about this issue, but so far, there is no step actually taken in this particular regard. That is number one. And I completely agree with Madhu Krishna regarding the enterprise financing. As of now, the complete bank linkage, the bankers are more comfortable with the SHGs rather than actually providing funds to the SHG federations. And the third one is, in the country currently what is happening is, two different models we are trying to promote. One is like the SHG federations, and the second thing that is coming up is the FPOs. More or less, if I see from the field point of view, for me and also for the women. So more or less, both are the same. And SHG Federation is a very low hanging fruit, where already a lot of capacity building is done and systems are in place, and some kind of financial management skills are there. So maybe from the government side and other line ministries also need to think about it, using the CLFs as for the livelihood promotion purpose also. And the fourth very important one is like the fund. Especially when I'm talking about the fund, currently everyone is talking about NRLM. I know how NRLM is like finding it so difficult to meet the human resource cost and also capacity building cost. That is one thing very much required, as we are doing on a scale. So that is where in fact the policies, the government policies need to come, like they need to change, because other line ministries are coming and trying to collaborate with us, but nobody is actually providing anything on this particular front, but just want support from NRLM. And the fourth one, when I talk about the tribal areas, there are a lot of tribe like forest based livelihoods are there. So like licenses related to those things are also very important one. In fact, this risk fund and other thing, my colleagues are already like, they have already mentioned. So these are the some of the policy issues I feel we need to focus.
Thank you so much. And I will not summarize. I think we have just covered more or less all the issues that starting from, and I'm so glad Madhu, Ratnesh, everybody spoke about celebrating, where we have come from, where we were, and the role of NRLM in actually really spearheading this women's movement, women's collective for everything. So that is a very big plus. And of course, challenges will definitely come along the way, but it has also been addressed at various levels, platforms, and that is the beauty of being a supporting organization and implementing organization. We have to work to achieve positive changes in the lives of people who also are equally keen to help themselves. So thank you very much, panelists, and I will throw open to questions from
Yeah,
all of you.
with your permission, I just want to say last one appeal to all the livelihood promoting organizations here. So India is always talking about inclusive development, but if you see the livelihood front, always the social inclusion and gender barriers are there. So it is our responsibility to build this kind of a sensitivity among all the livelihood promoting promoters and also the institutions to give enough space for the most vulnerable people, and also focus on eliminating the gender barriers. Thank you.
Yes, that's a very good note to end with. We throw open the panel for questions. Questions, comments? Yes, Sashi?
The panelists spoke about celebrating the success of women as entrepreneurs at the grassroots level. Yes, it is something to celebrate about. When you go to the field and you sit with those women, you get that the kind of energy that they exude. Yes, it is something to celebrate, but I would celebrate if I see one of them sitting on the panel as one of you and talking. That's when we should celebrate. I think it is important that we. Oh, no, I came in only for the session. So, because we're talking about SHGs and as enterprises, I'm saying that it is important to hear from the women what are the challenges that they face. Recently, I was in Jumritalaya and I was looking at the work of HIH in Kodarma and in Navada and Bihar. And time and again, when I was seeing the work of NRLM, when I was with UNDP and other places, what struck me was that they don't think like businesses. They are still in the recipient mode. See, in order for a business to succeed, you have to think like a business person. If you think, ठीक है, government order देगा, हमारा NGO बाप जो है वो order देगा, that won't work. It is not sustainable. It will fold the minute the benefactor goes away. So it is important to inculcate a sense of business among the women and get out of the recipient mode. Order government से आएगा, okay, we'll खाना पूर्ति करेंगे, that's it. No. And the second point and the last one is market is cutthroat. time and again, I heard the panelists talk about prices not being equal to the market. That's because the women enterprises pay fairly. The market doesn't. So when you add up the costs, obviously the women enterprises cost is much higher than the market. So maybe what Madhu Krishna suggested about the policy, about giving incentives to the private sector to buy from women-based enterprises would be a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would any of you like to comment or? Yeah. Uh, Anybody else with a comment or a question? Okay, so I think with this, I will end this session. Thank you so much, all the participants, for your for listening to us so attentively, and thank you so much, dear panelists. And please continue the good work that all of you are doing, and we look forward to our continuous engagement and celebration of women's collective strengths. Thank you so much.
I thank all our panelists for this highly engaging and enriching discussion. The panel in unison spoke about celebrating the success of women SHGs as entrepreneurs. The session highlighted the need to create a new path to make these federations as a strong business entity and as a strong business unit, building a whole value chain around the federation, building a cadre of professionals with appropriate mentoring modules in place, creating support system for SHG Federation, giving incentives to the private sector to procure from SHG driven enterprises for bringing women further up in the value chain. Thank you so much. Once again, may I request our esteemed panelists to please come in the front so that a group photograph could be clicked. I also would request you, as you get down the stage, to please collect a token of our appreciation from Access Development Services. Thank you so much.